All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Math 154. So it's going to feel awkward for quite a while. Actually, I think the rest of the semester, unless we have a snow day, because since we had a holiday on Monday, now our lecture ones are going to fall on Wednesdays and our lecture twos are going to fall on Mondays for weeks. So you might feel like this is week two, lecture two, but it's actually week two, lecture one. It's only our third meeting together. I mean, is that really an important detail? No, I just like putting that up there instead of the date. You should know what date it is when you come in here. Obviously, today is January 19th. Okay, so going to talk about a couple of due dates, going to talk about a couple of details, and then we're going to pick up right where we left off with that Excel spreadsheet that you will be building to submit to me. So as a reminder, your first quiz is going to be due. Remember, we're going to have about 10 quizzes throughout the semester, about 10. And we're calling this a syllabus/course intro quiz because not all answers are in the syllabus. Some of the answers might be in the first class's lecture, maybe in the helpful tips to start file, maybe in the email file, anything like that. Remember to be very, very careful typing your answers. Don't misspell things because that will lose you credit. And with only 5 questions, that means each one is worth 20%. That is due today by 11:59 p.m. Remember, all due dates will have a due time of 11:59 p.m., so I might not continue to write that every single day in class. The second assignment that you're responsible for on the docket is submitting the Chapter 0 spreadsheet. You will be putting this in Canvas. What do I mean by Chapter 0 spreadsheet? I mean the thing that we worked on for all of last class and will continue to work on for all of this class. It's 2 tabs of an Excel spreadsheet. This is very, 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 very different from a normal Excel homework. The normal Excel homeworks you downloaded in my math lab, you only have to type a few things and make a couple charts, and then you submit them in my math lab, and they're automatically graded. This is just I want to make sure you're putting in the effort kind of situation. I'm not even going to grade this. I'm not going to give you 95s and 78s and 22s. It's, did you do it? Cool, you got 100. Did you not do it? You got a 0. And when I say, did you do it, I don't mean, did you type 3 or 4 things? I mean, did you actually complete this file? I'm not going to be checking things to be right and wrong. I'm just going to make sure that you put in the effort and you get an automatic 100. So you'll submit that in Canvas. Again, this feels much more like a project, except I tell you exactly what to do. When we get to the project about 2/3 of the way through the semester, halfway through the semester, I don't show you exactly what to do. I tell you what to do. For the 50th time, you have to use the downloadable version of Excel. The app, I cannot say whether or not that will work. I know that the online version of Excel does not work. I have a very, very high suspicion that the app is going to be missing some of the automated charts that are going to be necessary for the homework. So I've actually never been asked that particular question. That's why I wanted to go into more detail about that. I know I've said the other part about the online one a lot, but I wanted to clarify this part as well. There is an app for Excel, but I can't promise that that will work or not work. So if you want to be my experimentist, you want to be a guinea pig, so to say, you can try it out, and if you're making bad grades on the charts, it's probably because it doesn't have the same automated charts. Basically, if you open up the app and it doesn't look just like the computer version of Excel, especially with the graphs and charts, then it's going to be a problem. Unfortunately for me on the go, I use Google Sheets because I can't get Excel on my phone. And Google Sheets is drastically different. You can't use that for this class. It's an awesome app for you to use on your own. There are lots of spreadsheet apps that you can use on your own. It's just for doing this particular homework. I can only guarantee that the computer-based version, non-app-based version is going to work. So that's what I would highly recommend you use. Okay. A reminder that you are responsible for reading ahead one section each day. So when we come back to class next time, we'll be starting chapter 1. We'll cover 1.1 and maybe even a little of 1.2, maybe. So it is your responsibility to read ahead a little in 1.1. Check out the notes to share that are in Canvas, which I'm going to make visible this afternoon. So you should see that by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock today, no later than that. If I have a second between classes, I'll do it even sooner. Make sure that you are putting your eyes on the e-text. I'm not asking you to spend 3 hours or 2 hours reading the entire section of the e-text because it's pretty well built. I'm just asking you to put eyes on it. So, oh, okay, Mr. Beckner might be talking about this chart. Oh, Mr. Beckner might be talking about this definition. Oh, okay, here's some basic outlines of what we're going to see. Another friendly reminder on how you save files. It's that little floppy disk symbol at the top left that you'll probably see, or you can hit File and then Save As. Make sure you're saving things on your own personal drives or clouds or whatever. If you're at the library, don't put it on the library hard drive because you're not going to be able to take that home. Or if you are, email it to yourself. Make sure you're practicing this stuff with Excel over and over and over. Anything in life, practice it over and over and over. You don't become really awesome at the cello by playing something once and then, oh, I'm awesome at it, I've got it down. It's going to sound terrible if you've only done it once. And if you only do something in Excel once, you're probably going to forget it after 5 minutes. So when you build this file that we've worked on and will continue to work on today, if you don't feel super 100% confident, do it again. And then do it again, and then do it again. When you do the homeworks, same thing. Practice stuff on your own. I'm going to be occasionally in class building just random Excel files, and you should be building them on your own and doing them again and doing them again. Make up your own stuff. Make up your own little personal assignments that have nothing to do with this class necessarily. And they don't have to be formulas. You can just use Excel to keep track of little notes and stuff as well. We're going to start seeing discussion boards assigned starting, I say this week, but I mean next week, week 2, lecture 2, since that's going to be the Monday. As a friendly reminder, and this is highlighted in all caps, do not answer every single question. If you answer every single question, I will not give you credit for it because you are not following the rules. We have to give elbow room. We have to give the space for other people to answer questions. If you come in and answer everything, you've just removed opportunities from every other student. So don't do that. Only answer one question. And I say, unless you're told otherwise, I can't think of a single time in this semester that I'm going to ask you to answer more than one thing in a discussion board. So you answer one simple question and you move on. If you see someone has typed something and you think it's wrong, your answer could be saying, hey, I think that Bob is wrong. Here's how I did it. Here's what I got. Don't come in and say, well, you're wrong because such and such, and have an attitude about it. Be friendly and helpful. So if you are discussing someone else's answer, whether it's right or wrong, that can be your participation as well. And again, I'm not grading these discussion boards for right or wrong. I'm saying, did Bob actually do something? Oh, Bob said something cool. He gets a check mark. He gets a 100. There will be occasional discussion boards where there's only like 10 or 12 answers, and I've got, probably 20 students in the class. So not everyone might have the opportunity to answer. Maybe 1 or 2 extra people can come in and say, well, I think Jane was wrong because this and that, but not everyone's going to get to answer. If that happens to you, that doesn't mean you get a 0. Just make sure that you absolutely participate in the next discussion board. There'll be plenty where everyone can answer because I have infinite possibilities, but there are some where it's finite. And then again, as a reminder, you must use the downloaded version of Excel, the app. That's a new thing I hadn't really thought about before. So if you are trying to use the app, it might not go very well for you. No promises there. I feel like there was one more thing I wanted to say. We have not started anything in my math lab yet. I know a couple of you, so I'm not going to be going over any due dates of my math lab homeworks because I haven't assigned any. They don't start until chapter 1. We haven't done anything from chapter 1 yet. So you'll start seeing those due dates next class once we begin chapter 1. So that'll be our regular homework assignments. Again, this first 2 weeks just feels like, hey, slow introduction to the course because there's so much to talk about, and we really do have to build up Excel. All right, so again, we're gonna pick up where we left off, and the spreadsheet, the numbers that you might see on this spreadsheet might not be exactly what they were last time, but remember, the point of the spreadsheet we're building is not to have the exact same numbers as me, it's to make sure that the formulas are functional and the charts that we build today are accurate. So let's get into that.
Here's where we left off, and the tax rate number may be a little different. I was playing with a whole bunch of these, like we said, during class. It was originally something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember that the numbers here may not agree in the workbook. The prices of each individual item might not agree with what it says in the workbook, but the workbook questions are generally more about what did you type in this cell and what did you get afterwards. So don't take that part as the most important aspect, just these numbers being exact. It was more about being able to enter them, formatting the colors appropriately, formatting the cell types appropriately, all that stuff. All right, so let me get my textbook back. Let's do this. There. Let's see if that'll be good. Okay. So what we want to do is on the second tab, see they point out to go to the second tab, the purple arrow. And you can have more than 2 tabs. You can have 3 or 4 or 5. You just got to hit the plus sign. You can always right click on the tab if you wanted to delete it. You can double click on a tab if you want to rename it. Remember, all these could be important items for later. And what we want to do is we want to fill out all the information seen here, which it's not super massive on your screen, but if you have the textbook in front of you, the worksheets in front of you, you can see them a little better. And unfortunately, if I zoom in on this, it's going to mess up the borders of that page. So let's go to sheet 2 on our Excel file. I can zoom in a little in that one. I need to see about that far. That looks pretty good. So in cell, I believe B2, we want to type revenue per item per concert, a double per. The idea of what the word per means, we are going to get into very heavily in this course. It's a very simple definition, but it plays an important role all semester. So revenue per item per concert. Then in the row below that, in row 3, we want to go over to column C using our mouse or tab or enter, however we want to do it. Remember, shift can help you move left or up. Just hitting enter or tab makes you go right or down. So this will be concert 1, tab, concert 2, tab, concert 3. And then tab, totals. Now when I hit enter, because I kept tabbing over and over and over and over, when I hit enter, it brings me back to the first column where I was typing. It's kind of a cool feature if you're doing things with patterns. But if you look in this, the next thing I really want to focus on is the labels of soda, water, popcorn, etc., which are in column B, if you can see that carefully. And I'm sorry if your vision is not perfect. Believe me, I feel for you. Mine is most definitely not perfect. I just can't really zoom in on this anymore and have everything look proper. Soda. Good thing is you see me build it in front of your eyes, so a non-issue, I hope. Cookie, hot dog. And down here, totals. All right, so next up, we want to fill these out as numbers. Now, I'm only going to type in the numbers in the blue cells. All of these orange cells in this vertical column F, those are totals. We're going to use a formula to get that. And then same down here in this row 10, these are totals, so we're going to use a formula to get that. So there'll be 2 formulas in here, but most of this is just typing in numbers. So let's see, we got $56 for the soda. Actually, let me do it this way. 56, then tab, 63, tab, 53. You don't have to do it in my order, then enter. It just means I'm going to do all the sodas, then all the waters, then all the popcorns, etc. 30.75, tab, 45, tab, 48.75, enter. Popcorn, 25.50, tab, that's a 30, tab, and then a 18, almost look like a 13, enter. Again, tab and enter are not mandatory. Use your mouse if you prefer. Then the cookie prices are 36. I'll hit tab, 49, tab, 44.50. Now I can type the 44.50 or just the 44.5. It won't actually matter because of the decimal placement. Then hot dog, 68, tab, 74, tab, and 54. So those are all the numbers that I need to enter. But there's a lot more going on with this than what you really see. There's a lot of coloring. For instance, the revenue per item per concert, that's a green color. So let's go to the cell it's in. And watch what happens. I'm gonna maximize this for a second. Watch what happens if I just click the cell where I typed revenue per item per concert. Then I go to back to home, the paint bucket, the drop down to make it that kind of green color. It only paints that one. So what you might want to do is grab all of these and then hit the paint bucket icon. And that just makes it a little better. Now you might say, oh, well, this looks a little weird. It's kind of left shifted. Maybe if I hit that, well, no, that didn't work. Maybe if I do that, no, that didn't work. Let's go back to the left one. You can use these to change your alignments and make it just look a little prettier, a little more centered. Because the centering option didn't quite work because it centers it to this cell. But as you saw when I did that, it actually moves it left because it's gonna put as much to the left of the cell as to the right of it. So we don't like that for this particular one. I just use the left and right alignments to manually push it or pull it in a direction and make it look similar. That's also bolded, so we're gonna hit the bold, and that looks pretty good. Next up, the concert labels along with their totals at the bottom. Those are kind of a reddish, pinkish color. I'm not perfect with color names, so don't judge me there. So let's highlight those three, and then let's switch our, see if I click the paint bucket, it's gonna make them that green again. We gotta do the drop down arrow and find that pinkish color, probably about there. Now it's also the totals down here, so let's highlight those three, and I can just click the paint bucket icon this time. Then the names of these, as along with their totals, are all kind of a yellowish color, not highlighter yellow, maybe more like that. We'll go with that. So then do the same thing for these, highlight. You can use the drop-down menu, or since I've already used that color, I just used that color, that is to say, you hit paint. All these numbers right here are a bluish color, not too deep of a blue, so that you can still see everything. You got a pretty good variety. That looks about right. But there's still a few more things that aren't quite right with this. All of these are gridded. So I could have done that when I was doing the individual colors and used the border and selected all borders. I could have done those separately, and these separately, and these separately, and these separately. Oops, wrong button. And then these separately. I could have done it that way, or I could have done it in a few less clicks. I could highlight this entire region, then these three, and then these three. Now, is there anything that says the word totals doesn't need a border around it? No, if you're making this up on your own, remember the point of me teaching you this stuff is not just to learn for whatever's good in this class, it's to take something from this and use it for your life, or maybe in a job later. If this is just for your life, the labeling is just for you, the emphasis on the colors and the borders and the shading and things. So maybe you want the totals box to have that border around it. So me, I kind of like it there. Me, I also don't like the uneven symmetry, so I'd have that have a border, and I'd probably have a border around this as well. I'm going to put one border somewhere. I'm probably going to border everything. But again, that's not what I'm grading on for this particular file. You can completely mimic the file we're creating together, or you can do one or two things that are just slightly different. Because if I see you doing slightly different things and trying other things, it means you're experimenting. And in experimenting, you probably did something wrong, and then you did it right. And how do we learn from Excel? We do it wrong, then we do it right. All right, so again, I'm not really worried about the extra borders here, so I'm gonna leave them. But there is an extra border here, and there was one more color there, and it's kind of tough to honestly tell what it is. It kind of looks like a gray. And again, not really grading on that aspect. And it might look like a darker gray, but that's because they had that cell activated. No, they don't actually have that activated, so it is a darker gray. That's fine. That's fine. So, totals. What do you think we're going to do to get a total across if you got Soto for concert 1, 56, 63 for 2, and then 53 for 3? I feel like that means we're going to add them. Now, with only 2 or 3 things, you could just go this cell plus this cell plus this cell. You don't really have to use a sum function when it's just 2 or 3 cells you're adding. However, it's a good habit to have, so I'll do it anyways. Now let's see if this is going to be right. Maybe I'm doing this right, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Sum, open parentheses. Remember, you can type or click. I prefer clicking. So I click and hold the soda price here. And I'm going to move it right across. Well, that's weird. It didn't put these cells in here. That's because I didn't do equals. So let's go. Equals sum, open parentheses. Now when I click, other things are happening, and I'm still holding my mouse button down. And I can drag, and it'll show a range of cells, C4 to E4 over there. That's what I want to add. Now I can hit enter, and you can see the total is 172. But at this point, I want to point out that something still doesn't look the same as in this chart over here. Our numbers are not formatted to currency, whereas theirs are. So I could go ahead and fill this formula down and then apply currency to all cells. But remember, if you apply the currency to the cells here, and then the formula uses those, it'll automatically assume it's currency. So I promise this will be the last time. Before I do the formula, let's highlight all of these and change their format to currency or accounting. There we go. So now when I do that formula, it will automatically put the cash symbol, the dollar symbol here for totals. So again, equals sum, open parentheses, I'll type it this time. C4, so typing C4, colon, don't forget the colon, and then I want to go to E4, and then I have to close my parentheses. You have got to learn this syntax. It's nothing super complicated, but if you don't practice it, even though it's not super complicated, you're not going to learn it. It's not going to stick. Enter. Oh no, that looks terrible. Well, that's because the cell isn't wide enough. We're using all of these things that we were taught last time. So we go up here between the letters. You'll see the mouse change, click and hold, and drag it right just to make it a little wider. Now we can see the value. Now, instead of typing that formula 4 more times, let us just activate the cell where I type the formula, hover over the fill handle, and then we can drag it down to the other 4 cells, and then let go. And it will take that formula, which was originally adding these 3 cells, and because we're dragging it down a row and then another row and then another row, Excel thinks, hey, you probably want the cell references to move as well. And in this instance, we do. Spoilers, we don't always. We'll teach you how to handle that later, though. Now, look what happened. Because I double-clicked in that cell, funky things are happening. As I click my mouse somewhere trying to get out of it, it's changing the formula. So to get out of it, you have to hit enter. It'll give you an error, probably. This is usually what it does to me. Do you want to accept the correction? Sure, it looks ugly, but let's accept it. Nope, that was weird. And again, I'm doing all this intentionally. Eventually, you get out of that, and it gives you a dash here because it was a nonsense formula. Oh no, I'm starting to have a panic attack. What do I do? What do I do? No. Goose Fraba, we calm down. We hit the undo button. That's our friend. That's our best friend. All right, I hit undo one too many times earlier, so I still want this to be bordered, and I wanted it to be gray. There we go. Now the totals down here, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a sum, but we're not adding up across a row. We're not adding up the 3 individual concerts for the item. We're adding up all the different items for a single concert. So that's how we can tell what we want to be adding up. If the total's over here, you're probably adding up the numbers to the left of it. If the total's here under a bunch of numbers, you're probably adding up all the vertical numbers. So we will go, and I'll do this on the first try correctly, equals sum, and we definitely want the sum this time. We don't want to have to do 4 or 5 additions. Open parentheses. I'm going to use my mouse. Click the first cell, hold. I'm still holding. Drag it down to all 5. Let go. You can close your parentheses, but the nice thing about the mouse is you can actually skip it. Now again, these cells are a little too narrow, so I just need to come up here and widen them. And I'm probably going to have to widen the rest, so let me go ahead and take that initiative. Now I can activate the cell where I just typed that formula, and we can fill it across. We can fill it to the right. So we're going to grab our fill handle with the cell activated. I'm holding my mouse down, drag it right, and we're going to add up not just for the 3 concerts, but for the total of the 3 concerts. And if all the numbers were in place correctly, that should be 695.50, which agrees with what we have on our worksheet. So that's nice. So not too bad. You might notice there's one minor difference, and I just caught this, that the revenue per concert actually goes all the way across. So let's make that one green as well. Same green, there we go. Let's take the border off of that one. So I'm gonna hit no border. I'm just fixing up something. Oops. And then all borders. Move the font right a little bit. There we go. All right. Yeah, right a little more. I'm just trying to mimic it as best as I can. Oops, I'm on the wrong cell. There we go. There we go. Now it looks good. Okay, next page. So now that we have a chart of information, so a whole bunch of different concerts, a whole bunch of different items, and I know these aren't a whole bunch, but I'm saying we could have, this could be all the concerts for like 10 years a company's been around, and they probably don't just sell 5 items at its concert, they probably have dozens, if not hundreds of items over time, especially since people will rotate out items. So you'd have, if you're looking at concerts for the past 10 years, you've probably got brands from 5, 6, 7 years ago that you no longer sell, but would still be in this table of information. You just have zeros for them for all the more recent concerts. Okay. So you are now ready to insert a chart. Now I am here to remind you that in your Excel homeworks, quite often you will need to use recommended charts. I'm not going to be doing that today. That's not how these are set up. Remember, this is a very different type of Excel situation. We're learning from the ground up. So when you highlight a bunch of numbers and go to insert, in your first homework, you'll be using the recommended charts and probably the first one that pops up. I'm saying probably, I'm not saying definitely, I'm saying probably. And then you'd hit okay, and then you do some things from there. We're doing it a little different though. We're going to use these over here for the most part, which are not necessarily recommended, but you get a lot of the same features. And again, if you do those on a homework, if it says to use a recommended one, it will deduct points. Okay, pull out just a little, there we go, zoom back. So we're going to highlight the cell range B3 through E4, and then click on the Insert tab. So B3 through E4, here's B3, and we're going up to E4. Now this is E3 over here. To highlight through E4, we do that. So one more time, click and hold to make that cell active or to highlight, but I haven't let go, so it's not active quite yet. So I can move around and highlight a different region. So I want to highlight these. I'm not highlighting everything. Please notice I'm not highlighting everything. I'm just highlighting the concert labels, the soda label, and the values for those individual concerts. So we're not studying water, popcorn, cookies, or hot dogs here. Just the soda across 3 concerts, and our goal is to make a chart that looks similar to this. So then click on the Insert tab. So we're on Insert now. And then it says to click on the column chart command, and that chart should appear. So column chart is right here. Columns are these verticals. Now you might say, here's column chart, but that says insert statistics chart. This also kind of looks like a column, but it says combo chart. So this is just our standard column chart. The other 2 that are popular that we'll use are these. Well, 3, excuse me. Pie charts, we'll do one of those today. Scatter charts, we'll do a lot of these at the end of the semester. And lines, I like to say line graphs because it's a little more mathematical, but it's still a line chart, I guess. So we'll do some of these kind of in the middle 2/3 of the semester roughly. So bar chart. And you get a few different options. We want a vertical one because that's what it looked like in the textbook. Horizontal is perfectly fine, but we want to make it look like the textbook. And you got a couple of different options. This one's stacked. These 2 are stacked, excuse me, which we don't have enough information for a stacked chart. We'll get to that later. So we're definitely using this one. And look at that. That looks pretty similar. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. That looks pretty similar to the one over here. Now, what you might notice is the height of the lowest and highest is a little different. This is going in increments of 10 from 0 because it's a dash up to 70. This is going just from 48 to 64 because Excel decided that was a good window. There are ways to change that window. That's not what I'm going to focus on for today. We'll come back to that another day. But because we had soda highlighted, it made the title soda. Because we had these 3 concert names highlighted, it gives the concert names down here. I'm going to do this one more time and I'm going to do it wrong. So I did it right first. Now I'm going to do it wrong. Let me show you what looks different about this. Instead of highlighting all 8 of these cells, so this was the correct one, highlighting the labels and the numbers. Some people will just highlight the numbers and then they'll go to insert, the bar chart, and this looks very similar. Look at how similar that looks. But it doesn't say soda at the top, it says chart title at the top. It doesn't say concert 1, 2, and 3, it says 1, 2, and 3. These are not labels. This is not telling me what they are. And when you do that in your homework, guess what? It's wrong. When you do that on your project, guess what? It's wrong. Your charts have to be well labeled. Title, columns, rows, whatever. Everything has to be well labeled. So that's why it was not a great idea just to highlight the numbers. We wanted to highlight the appropriate labels as well. All right, so we saw how to do it the right way. Focus on that aspect. Now, sometimes you might want to highlight this section over here and then maybe this section. But when you go to click somewhere else, the first clicked area goes away. Well, guess what? If you hold Control down, you can get both highlighted. That's going to be important for later. So again, check this out. I'm not holding Control. I am not holding Control at first. That's important. Highlight the first region. Now I've let go of my mouse. I'm not holding my mouse down anymore. Now I'm going to hit Control and hold it down. So I'm holding Control. Now I can highlight another region and then let go. So again, I've let go of my mouse at this point. And you can highlight several different regions everywhere. As long as you keep holding Control down, I'm still holding Control. Once you let go of Control, I've let go of Control. Now if I go to highlight somewhere else, watch, all those highlights are going to go away. It starts fresh. Remember, Control changes how Excel works. So when you need to highlight separate regions, Control is the name of the game. All right, so we got that first chart done. Charting tips. Click on a chart to make it active and then use the Chart Tools, Designs, Tabs, Add Chart Element menu to add titles, change the legend, format the axes, anything like that. So again, click on a chart to make it active, then use the Chart Tools, Designs tab. Let's see if we can find that. And I have to move something that you probably can't see. So we're on, oops, sorry, active. Then Chart Tools is right here, and then Design. And this is how we can add chart elements like axes. So primary horizontal or primary vertical, see how that changes something, whether it has the numbers or not. The axis titles, again, primary horizontal or primary vertical. So if your homework asks you to do axes, this might be important, hint, wink, nudge. Chart title, which ours already had originally, but you can make another one. And again, I actually can't see what that chart title says because of Zoom, but it's there because I have a menu again that you can't see. Data labels, this will be important for later today. We'll show you all about that. Legends, trend line options. This is going to be important for later in the semester. So again, if you have a chart activated, a new menu will pop up here, Chart Tools, Design and Format. You can actually go to 5 or 6 different pre-selected designs if you want the colors and patterns to look a little different. That might be in the homework. So if I wanted to say design 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I would click this one to make it look like that instead. There's quick layout options as well, which might not be relevant for us, but you know, play with things, try them out. You never know what you might find and like. Da, 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 da. So we already talked about this basically, that sometimes Excel does not put the horizontal labels in there or any labels in there. So you have to do that by going manually into Chart Tools, Design, and then select Data. To make a chart the size of a whole sheet, use the Move Chart command button in the Chart Tools Design. So Design, and then Move Chart. So again, something that might be helpful for you later. So where do you want this? Okay, well, right now I've got it in sheet 2, but I want it to be in the first one. Then you could move it to the first one as well. So let's hit OK. And now it's over in the other one. I don't actually want it to be there. So, oh, the undo does not work for that. That's okay. So we can just go back to Design. We can go back to Move Chart. And let's put it where it belongs. Back in sheet 2. Okay. Now what we want to do is create this horizontal chart. So they say in this purple box, create this chart by highlighting ranges B3 through E8, B3 through E8, and then use the stacked bar option. And obviously this time we want it to be horizontal. So we're going to highlight B3 through E8. So B3 is here. So we're going to click it once and hold up to E8. So up over to column E and then down to row 8, and then we can let go. Now it's important that I did not highlight the totals column. That is important. We just want the individuals because this is trying to paint the individual categories as kind of a summing up over the 3 concerts. So like Hot Dog 1, you can see there was just under $200 of revenue from the 3 concerts. Here was Concert 1's portion, Concert 2 portion, and Concert 3. Now, sure, we can actually see the literal number of $172 here, but sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we're going to insert a stacked bar chart. So let's go Insert, back to the bar chart section. We want the horizontal ones. This is not stacked. That's clustered. This is stacked. Now there's a stacked where it's all set to be the same width and it's more of a percentage. Honestly, we're never going to use that one. This is the one. This is the way. So let's see, it gave us good labels for the concerts, gave us good labels for the hot dog, cookie, popcorn, water, and soda because we had those things highlighted, but it didn't know what to call the chart title because there wasn't anything in this box right here. It probably would have called that the title otherwise. Maybe, maybe not. So what title do they say to give it? Concert revenue. So we can double click where the title is. That's the easiest one. The axes titles are more of a pain in the butt to do. That's where you have to go through the design, add chart element, all that stuff. So we just want this to say concert revenue. It may have been plural, but I'm not worried about that. And then we can click out of it. So let's see if that looks pretty good in comparison to what the book has. Let's close that. These little submenus pull up sometimes when you go to do things like that, changing titles, changing axes titles, anything like that. Okay, so the colors are different. If you needed to change the colors, I bet you could do that through all of those options. Again, not the point of this, so I'm not going to worry about it. But in terms of widths and everything, labeling, everything looks really excellent. So we can visually see that hot dogs earn the most revenue out of everything. Popcorn earn the least revenue out of everything across all these concerts. So maybe as a vendor, we look at this information for, say, 50 concerts, and we notice that the popcorn is way, way down here, almost insignificant in comparison to the rest. And maybe we say, well, you know, our overhead is kind of high on popcorn. We've got this machine that takes up all this space. We could probably put another machine in there that would earn us a lot more money. So maybe let's get rid of our lowest selling item and let's bring in something new that people would be interested in. Now, again, you can see it with the numbers, but when you're doing presentations and stuff, people love charts. People love charts. All right, now let's make a pie chart. Now, if we do a budget, you will be doing a pie chart for that budget as your project. I can guarantee that. It has to be well labeled. So this would be like your different categories of expenses in your personal life. So we're going to create a pie chart now. This one in particular, maybe a little different color and everything, but well labeled as you see here. So you need to highlight 2 regions. This is what I was alluding to earlier with the control and highlighting different regions. that are not touching. B4 through B8, so B4 through B8 are right here, and then F4 through F8. So we're going to use the titles of the items and the totals. We don't want to highlight everything. We don't want to have individual concerts and the totals. That would mess up a pie chart really, really badly. And there's a question in your guided worksheets that alludes to that. Remember, even though I'm not asking you to submit your guided worksheets, and I'm not going to ask for a discussion board on it either, it is still important to you to complete the guided worksheets for chapter 0 because, again, it might help you prep for all this Excel stuff. You can't be lazy with this. If you're lazy, you're not going to learn, and you're going to earn bad grades, and you're going to have a bad time. This is for you. Do that work. Put in the time, especially since we don't have Excel homeworks right now and my math lab homeworks right now and quizzes and discussion boards. We're still setting things up. I'm taking it very easy on you right now. So do that. It's very little amount of work at the beginning of the semester to do. Okay, so we want to highlight the labels and the numbers, but when I let go and click, oh no, I can't highlight both at once. What do? I don't go and get upset. I remember that my teacher said control, take control. Highlight the first region, you can let go, hold control down, I'll highlight the second region, let go of control. Does the button sequence have to go exactly like that? Maybe, maybe not. Play around with it, try things out, do things wrong, learn. Because there's sometimes I can hit control first, there's sometimes I can't hit control first. You have to figure it out. Like I said, you'll do things wrong. I do things wrong all the time. And then we do them right, ultimately. All right, so now that we have the separate regions, and they say it's Command on a Mac, by the way. I know I mentioned that at some point, but there's the reminder. So we're going to go to Insert a Pie Chart. So let's maximize. Let's insert the pie chart. Not the three-dimensional one, not the donut one, not this like pulley looking system where I don't even know what the heck that is. This simple one. And there we go. Chart title, yay, that's very specific. So let's move this into appropriate window. So it doesn't look exactly like this. That says item total, so on the title, let's double click. Close formatting options if it gets in the way, and change it to item totals. Don't hit enter because that'll give you more space like that. Just click away. And you'll notice that these are well labeled because I had those labels set up appropriately. These would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 if these were not highlighted. If I only highlighted the totals, these would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me show you. Make another one. Highlight just the numbers. Insert. Pie chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not well labeled, losing points on homework, losing points on a project. Don't do that. Highlight labels too. But there's other things labeled in here. We have numbers. So the pie chart gives us a visual representation of, hey, the soda or whatever this blue thing is, which is actually hot dogs. Soda's a little darker of a blue and it's tougher to see because of the small size, but this right here is the hot dog, and if you hover, it even says that. The dark blue is the soda, the yellow is the cookie, the orangish is water, the gray is popcorn. So I can, again, visually see popcorn sales kind of low. Maybe we take out popcorn. And even when you hover, it will tell you those percentages, but we want it to tell us the percentages without hovering. So that's what we're talking about, going to Chart Tool Design tab, Add Chart Element, then Add Title and Data Labels. So again, Chart Tools Design, Add Chart Element, Data Labels. Design, Add Chart Element, Data Labels. Now you get to choose where they're located. So do you want them on the outside? Do you want them on the inside? Do you want them centered? None, well, definitely not that one. Data call out, best fit. Well, I don't think the one on the textbook looked like this. So maybe we go with best fit. That's about what it looks like. You might say center, and that's close, but the one for popcorn looks not perfect. So I'm gonna go best fit. This is just personal choice. But those are the specific dollar amounts. Look at the textbook. It wants them labeled as percentages. You know why we do pie charts? To think of things as percentages, not to see the actual amounts, but to think of them as a relationship to everything else. This is the biggest slice of the pie, so that did the best. I can even see it as a percentage. It's 28% of our gross income, if you will. Popcorn, visually smallest, 10%, definitely smallest. So how do we change these? Well, they tell us there. We're going to check the percentage box and uncheck the value box under more data label options. So going to the same set of menus. That. And mute somebody. Right, back on track. Chart tools, design, add chart element. Back to the data labels, but more options. Now, when I click more options, you're going to see a submenu on the right side of the screen pop up. Click. Now, sometimes this menu is not the right menu, and it's just a weird Excel glitch that I have happen maybe 10 to 20% of the time. It's really based on where you've previously clicked. But if that happens, then just close it and do it again, and it will pop up appropriately. So they said to unclick value. So you see how this says 196 and 172? Watch what happens when I unclick it. It disappears, and there's that little issue I mentioned because I took away everything, so I need to close it and do it again. Hold on. Sorry, I had to undo, see, because I undid the value first. So we want to click the percentage first to make it easier, then unclick the value. And again, I do some of these things wrong intentionally. Sometimes I don't. That was not intentional, but it's fine because that's how we learn, right? I just showed that. So we're going to click percentage first, and it looks a little ugly. Then we can unclick value, and we don't have that mess where this thing changes. But it was to go under label options. I just couldn't remember that specific thing, and it was under this. So there we go. Now at that point, maybe we wanted to change it to center, and we certainly could do that. Instead of best fit, we can click right here. Center. That still doesn't look great. Inside end, I'd probably still stick with best fit. And that was my dog barking. Okay. People often forget to highlight both regions. This is something I already alluded to earlier, and instead just highlight F4 through F8, the numbers, giving the pie chart shown here. We showed you this earlier. With no labels, to add labels, something we've discussed previously, click on the Select Data command button in the Chart Tools Design tab. So when you're under Design, you can see right here, it'll say Select Data. Then edit the horizontal category. Axis labels. So Excel will open this new submenu in which you can enter the names, and you can actually click and drag as well. So you can enter the range B4 through B8 by clicking in the empty box below. And it might not be clicking, you might have to type. Again, things kind of vary from program to program, or from version to version, I should say. I know there's an Excel version that you can't click and drag, and I know there's one that you can. By clicking in the empty box below, axis label range, and then dragging over B4 to B8 in the spreadsheet. All right, so let's try that out. So let's go back to doing this wrong. So we only have these 5 things highlighted. We insert our pie chart that will not look good. And again, I had to store this to memory. So we go to specifically the Select Data command in the Chart Tools Design. So when we have this open, again, I have got this menu that hides things I have to move. Here we go. Here's select data. And then edit the horizontal category axis label, which is over here. We're going to edit. And then axis label range, we want to do B4 through B8. So B4 colon B8, B4 colon B8, and hit OK. And that didn't work, so we try again. We go to select data, we go to edit, there we go. So this is the one where you can click and hold. So I just click them instead of typing them, hit enter, hit OK, and now you can see everything's good. So that first thing I did where I just tried to type B4 through B8 didn't quite work. So we hit OK. Let's show you one more time in case you missed it. So we have that activated. We select our data. We go to edit. And then we just click and hold and let go. We hit OK. And now everything is well labeled. So that's one way you can fix things on your horizontal axis. And again, this could be relevant to homework. So please, please come back to these videos. It will only help you. Why is it not letting me go to the next page now? This thing is weird sometimes. Technology. Caution. And this is something some of you may have seen already. More is not necessarily better. Remember the old adage, keep it simple, silly. If you've heard a different version of that, that's not the one we'll use in class. The following is an example of a really bad chart created by highlighting everything, adding labels you cannot read, and formatting with, quote, garish colors in this kind of rainbow spherical pattern thing going on. Note how totals dominate everything and make the other values hard to read. Gross, yuck. So there's a video that you can click and watch, and I'm not going to watch this whole thing. I have to change something in my settings first to make it share computer sound. Go.
Awful chart. Caution. More is not necessarily better. In formatting with garish color, often highlight everything. Next,
So here's where the author just kind of shows
and exactly what you want to chart, and highlight that data accordingly. People who just want to get it done often highlight everything. Next, insert 3D clustered column chart. Lacking any sense of what information they're trying to convey, the get it done crowd resorts to Flash. Why choose 2D when you can go 3D? Not quite sure what labels are appropriate, the more is better mentality kicks in, and lots of data label boxes are checked. Surely both the series name and category name are important. Better check both just to be sure. And it doesn't cost anything. Yes, looking good, like I spent a lot of time on this. Now for some eye candy. Right-click on the background and click on the fill arrow. Choose gradient and then more gradient options. Go nuts using the gradient stops slider bar, changing color at each stop. Right-click again on the background and click on the fill arrow. Choose gradient and then more gradient options. This time, choose a circular pattern. Nice. Looks like a sunrise over the Atlantic. I think our work here is done.
So I think that's pretty funny. You'll notice that he just went through a whole boatload of options, things that I haven't taught you today and things that I'm not going to teach you because those are things you don't need for this course. There's gradients and the colors and the spheres and everything, the sunset as he called it, or sunrise, whichever it was. Those are things you really don't want to be adding. I mean, you can occasionally, maybe just one of them, but it's just not a great idea to do things that way. All right, So there's one last thing I want to do, and we're actually going to be done. I want to go to that chapter 0 spreadsheet, the guided worksheet for y'all. Remember, you've got definition areas. You can write definitions here. You'll have actual questions. Questions 1 through 8. What formula did you enter in the cell that you've built in your Excel file? Don't forget you're saving these and you're going to send them to me in Canvas. Do not email me your chapter 0 Excel files. Again, do not email them. They should be submitted in Canvas. None of these questions are super, super crazy. Again, you're not emailing me this work. This is for your own good. What is the next part I wanted to get to? You'll notice some of this stuff we didn't talk about extremely in class, but we did mention that there are the 5 primary functions we use in Excel of sum, average, max, min, and count. So here in this activity, using the numbers on the screen from what we had, these particular numbers, so these numbers, what would you expect the average of C3 through C7 to be? Well, you could actually recreate the Excel spreadsheet and put a cell somewhere that says exactly this, and you can get it. Or you can try and anticipate that without doing the Excel. My suggestion is to do it both ways to make sure the answer makes sense. Count, don't worry about this one too much for now, but what I'll mention is count gives you a 1 if a cell has something in it, and a 0 if it doesn't. And by something, I generally mean a number. So again, don't focus on that one too much. If you skip number 4, that's perfectly fine. If we need it later, we'll discuss it then. But the rest of them, average gives you an average. Sum we've already used. Max gives you the largest from a window. Minimum gives you the smallest from a window. So there's a couple more charts in here that they ask you to recreate using the table, the chart that we've been doing today. I'm not going to do all of these, but I will do this one more. So I would ask you to try and recreate these 2 labels. One of them's good, one of them's bad. I said labels, didn't I? Charts, excuse me. This chart on the left is good. So this isn't looking at all 5 categories. It's a pie chart, excuse me, of just the soda, the 3 concerts. But this one includes the total. And you can see that it doesn't make sense because it included the total. They hovered over too much. They included too much in it. Because this says that soda sales were 50% and then the total sales were 50%. But the total is part of the individuals. So the left is good, the right is bad. So let's just make one more chart. We want to create this one, this bar chart that's not stacked, but it still shows the 3 different categories just independent of concert 1, concert 2, and concert 3. And we're not going to make it look exactly like that with all the the dots, the polka dots, and the stripes and everything. The reason they do it this way is because these things print out in black and white, and it makes it a little easier to read in black and white. So going back to our Excel file. So let's see if we can get this right. We got concert 1 through 3 labeled. Just move everything else to the side. And we probably need the soda and water and popcorn and cookie and hot dog named as well. So we probably have those highlighted, but this still isn't good enough because we need the concerts in there as well. Now, if I only highlight this, we can edit the horizontal axis as we just talked about earlier and I type in the concert 1 through 3 or, click and drag as we just saw. But I can get it right on the first try by highlighting this entire section. Then we go to insert. We want to do a bar chart. We want the vertical one. Now we don't want it stacked. This would be a stack chart where they're all on one bar for each item. We want it like this where they're separated. Again, maybe your boss wants it to look like this. Maybe he wants it to look the other way, or maybe you think your boss wants it to look one way or the other. Sometimes it's not what your boss wants. It's you trying to guess and hope for the best. So the only thing that looks bad about this is the chart title should say concert revenue, probably. Yeah, concert revenue. So what I just did there was I accidentally deleted it, and I did it intentionally. I said accidentally, but I, quote, accidentally deleted it. So guess what we do? We hit undo. So make sure you're double clicking so that you're typing in there, then backspace. See, if I'd only single clicked, it deletes it. Concert. I'll hit enter. That one was a mistake on my part, so I backspaced, click away. And that looks pretty good. You just kind of compare the two. This time it even gave a better 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 range, probably because there's more data selected. Sometimes they do a better job labeling those or incrementing them, but that is something else that can be edited, but that's something we'll save for another day. So that is all I wanted to do. Like I said, on your own, these are very similar to what we did with the pie chart. So I would like you to create this one. If you don't want to create the wrong one, that's fine, as long as you know how to create the right one, but it's not something I'm asking you to submit. We did this one, we did this, everything else is pretty good. This question 5 in particular is about that wrong pie chart that we were just talking about. When you get to these more general questions, these reflections, again, you can put sentences, paragraphs, words, 1 word, 2 words, whatever. Skip it, that's up to you unless I tell you it's part of a group discussion. The main emphasis for this guided worksheet is the questions 1 through 5, 1 through 8 in the different sections. 1 through, how many were here? 7, another 8. So it's like 21 questions, most of which are pretty easy, all of which I've pretty much given to you in a recorded format that you can repeat on YouTube and come back to.
All right, everyone. So that is where we're going to leave it today. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. All right, so that is where we're going to leave it for today. We're actually going to let you out a little early. Not something we get to do too much, at least not this significantly early, but I didn't really want to start chapter 1 and do a mix and match this early. I'd rather just close out chapter 0 with the Excel stuff. So make sure that you recreate everything we did today. Well, not absolutely everything. For the charts, you only have to submit 3 of them, and it's the 3 that were listed in the textbook, the 3 that were seen in the file from the guided activities. And remember, that's going to be due on January 24th. If you haven't already done the first quiz, the syllabus/course intro quiz, that is due today. Yes, you can absolutely go ahead and submit your chapter 0 spreadsheet if you already have it done. You never have to wait till the last minute. Once we start getting into the regular Excel homeworks, it is never, ever a good idea to wait until the last day to open it and look at it for the first time. That is a horrible idea. Once I say, hey, the next Excel file is due in a week, go ahead and open it within 24 hours, put your eyes on it, understand what you're responsible for, start working on it in a day or two. Don't wait until 11:50 p.m. to start on this thing, and then you're confused and you email me. I'm not going to have time to answer you. Remember, I'm not really going to answer a lot of questions about Excel homeworks. This is mostly supposed to be independent. The same for the regular homeworks, especially since they have the view an example, help me solve this stuff. So the only 2 assignments we've given so far are the first quiz and this chapter 0 spreadsheets. Remember, you're starting with a blank file and recreating what we did over the past 2 days. It will not be graded for accuracy, just completion. So it's an easy 100 as long as you do it, so make sure you do it. A lot of students think they can skirt by this class and not do any of the Excel stuff. You're going to have an impossible time making anything better than a C if you never do anything with Excel in here. So that's a horrible idea. Please don't do that, especially since we're counting attendance as submitting homework. So if you never do any Excel homework, eventually you will be withdrawn for lack of participation because you will have not turned in enough homeworks by, I don't know, like halfway through the semester, 2/3 through the semester. Remember, it's going to be about 10 Excel homeworks, about 10 quizzes. So those are on about the same frequency. We'll have the 1 project later. We're not going to talk about that until about halfway through the semester. And then starting next class, we'll see regular My Math Lab homeworks. We'll see a regular Excel homework, and we'll see a discussion board. So go ahead and read the chapter 1 notes to share file once it's available a little later today. go ahead and put your eyes on the textbook for 1.1 so you know what's going to be coming up. Besides that, if you have any questions, you can email me. And have a good day. Have a good weekend. Hopefully this snow doesn't mess up anything. I really, really, really don't want that to mess up anything. So yeah, take care and stay safe, everybody. Stay warm.